Hello. Hi, Janae. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. So good to see you here.
I'm excited.
It's funny how the group kind of rotates. I know Angelique won't be here. And we'll see if Velia pops in, but it's like sometimes there's like you two haven't ever been in the same space. And then like two new people will come in. So oh, there's Velia. So it's just kind of interesting how it rotates. And I'm like, I always know where it's gonna go, but it's like I don't. I don't know. Let's see here. Let me
Oh,
fix
hey,
my
yeah, yeah.
camera.
Hi everyone, how are y'all?
Oh, good. How are
I
you?
Are you
I'm
off of
doing
work today, Vicky?
No.
Oh,
So I decided to join wait, this is the lounge, right? I'm like,
yep.
we have the cafe. Yeah, we have the cafe on Thursday. I decided to join because um I'm feeling more aligned with this. And I just like took and I blocked time off on my calendar and I'm making it a priority because I feel like my soul's journey is important and it's just like taking me places. So I wanted to be here.
very nice.
That's awesome. I saw a quote by Alan Watts that said, "How about we let life live us for once instead of always trying to, you know, figure out what we're supposed to be doing and trying to demand like that things have to go a certain way." And I was like, that's pretty much, I think, as you get up into the higher consciousness levels, you're like, oh, I only have so much control, right? Like we can only control so certain things. And then it's kind of like about what I wanted to talk about today is noticing. Um, because there's so much that when it comes to the way that I coach, and no matter what it is, business, whatever, I like it. I like to create the space for us to notice things because I feel like everything that we need, we already have. Like it's
Mm.
just that we're not seeing it, right? Like our mind is over here or our mind is over here, but the information that we're trying to find is just right here. It tends to be like right in front of us in this empty space of now. And it's like a wisdom, right? It's like a knowing. And so it's always there. It's like, it's right here, it's right here, it's right here. But we're always just kind of looking out in either direction. And I think that's interesting because we all do it, right? Like we've been taught to do that as a society, is to like figure things out with our brains, with our minds, which there's some truth to that, right? Because we want to learn critical thinking skills. But when we're on this spiritual journey of soulpreneurship, every one of our journeys is so different and so unique that we can't see it. It's not out here. If it was out here, then everybody would be on that road. Everybody would be doing that thing, right? Which leads me to another, like a story about how um, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but the gist of it was that and maybe you've heard it before, but it's like, oh, well, let's decide where we're going to hide all the answers and man. And they're like, oh, well, we're going to hide it over here in the mountains. Oh, we're going to hide it over here in the lake. Oh, we're just going to hide it over here in the sky. And they said, no, let's hide it where they're never going to look. And that's inside of them.
Mm.
And when I as I started seeing the answers unfold before me by looking there, I was like, "Oh, I get it. I get it." But how do we utilize that, right? How do we begin to say, "Okay, I know where to look now, but what does that look like?" And that's where I came with noticing, right? That was some of my very beginning lessons was what do I see now that is new and fresh, new and fresh, and insight, something that didn't come to my mind before, something that is like, it's just a new thought that came into our awareness. And so I like to mention this because when it comes to my coaching and the way that I teach, I'm always guiding everybody to see, to some extent, something new, something fresh, something that they haven't thought of before, something that they didn't notice before or realize before. And that's because that is where change is. Change is nowhere else. Growth is nowhere else, right? Until you realize something new, you can't experience something new. You're just going to be experiencing something that you already experienced, and maybe you'll see something new about that. But if you're on riding the same bike all the time, heading the same direction, you're never going to see something new. So I love noticing, and I like bringing up this topic because it really is every aspect of our life. What can we see? What can we notice? What's new and fresh? And the last thing I'll say about this, because before we kind of open up into a discussion about it, is we are all aspects of creation, right? We are all shards of existence. And because of that, we are all living different perspectives of a now moment. Like I'm living a different perspective of the same moment that Veli is living. It's the same moment. It's the same moment for Vicky. It's the same moment for Janae. We're all living the exact same moment through a different lens. And the beautiful thing about that is my lens looks I have a certain set of binoculars. Janae has a certain set of binoculars. We're looking at life through all of this. Whatever is in that doesn't matter if it's thought created or experience created or memories or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like that's what we're looking out to the world on. And we're experiencing life through that same lens. And that lens is the same as the journey, if that makes sense. That's the journey that we're on. Like I can hand Vicky my binoculars and say, "Hey, look through this." But at the end of the day, she's looking through her own. So I can show her something new. But at the end of the day, she has to see it for herself. And that's where we come back to noticing is like, well, what is in my path? What is in my now moment? What is in my reality? Because that's where everything lies. That's the answers to everything. The answer to where is my business journey taking me? Where is this relationship taking me? Where's my relationship with my children taking me? Where am I supposed to be living in this world geographically? Am I fulfilling my life's purpose to the best of my ability? Any question that you have, that answer is inside in that noticing space, which can also be linked to feeling too. Like feeling is something that guides me, and I'm noticing different feelings too along that marriage of insight and feeling. So I just kind of want to open it up. And what do you see new and fresh as we speak about this topic about noticing? If you see anything new and fresh, you might not, and you may, but if you do, I kind of like to start there as to what can you see new and fresh about that.
I like the binoculars analogy that you just used. Because I feel like in spirituality, we know that it's like source experiencing itself and that we're all some of the one, right? Like we're parts, but parts of a whole, right? Like those are all well-known notions. But I really like the binocular analogy that you just used because that made it very real and very tangible in terms of like, it's 1:10 p.m. in New Jersey, and there are 8 million people who live in New Jersey, and all 8 million of us are experiencing this 1:10 p.m. differently, right? And that's what it made me, like, it made it very real and tangible for me. So.
Yeah, I love that. And the interesting thing about that, just to take it to another level, is I have a pair of binoculars somewhere, so I'd hold them up and show you. And here's this physical. So I've got my binoculars, which is the lens that I see life through. And here's the physical body. But on the other side is everything that I've been through, all of the thought created reality that I build with thought castles, my beliefs, they come through this filter, and the binoculars are pretty much I almost want to say like the movie that we're running everything. It's the filter we're running everything through,
Mhm.
right? And then everything that we see outside is the movie so if our binoculars have a lot of static or dirt on them, right? We're seeing this movie with this static and this dirt on it. It's like, oh, there's the dirt, and I know people in my life, you hear them say the same thing over and over and over again. Well, I can't say, that dirt's not really there. That dirt's not really there, right? They'll say, I'm looking at it. Yes, it is. Because all of our realities are very real to us. But if I say that's where when I coach and some of my foundational beliefs are, let's look at what's making that look real to you, right? Let's
Mhm.
look at um what's creating that dirt on your movie screen. If you like it there, it's okay. If it's serving you, it's okay. Because the thing is that most of the time it is serving us. You see, we have the choice to put that there or not. So if that movie screen is like blocking out a scary part, or if that belief is blocking out a scary part of the movie screen, then absolutely I'm going to keep it there. I don't want to see that. And that's the thing about everything that we're putting up on that screen is we're all do everything that we do, we think is benefiting us. That's what I know Bashar calls like the motivational mechanism. Any belief that we have over here, any thought, anything that we run through those binoculars and project it on that movie screen, we feel like it is benefiting us. Now, whether it is or not is a different story. That's how people kind of get in their own way. I used to do this. So here's an example. I used to set up these calls years ago, and I was always really sad that nobody would show up. But in the back of my mind over here, I was like, God, I hope nobody shows up. I'd have to talk to people. I don't know what I'm doing. And so because of that, I'm projecting all of that into this outside world. And that's what it is. That's why we say we live from the inside out, right? So I'm
Mm.
manifesting with that thought. I'm pretty much pushing everybody away from me. So, what does that bring to mind?
I've I've been experiencing that. I'm coming out of that experience of like putting the offer out there, but secretly really not wanting anybody to show up. And so people haven't been. And over these last couple of months, I've kind of been like getting myself energetically to a place where I'm ready. Like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for people to come. Like, or more people I don't know. Because like I have a physical space where I hold gatherings, and it's a lot of work for me to invite people that I've never met, who have no idea who I am, into this gathering. And like I have zero control over what they're going to think about me or what they're going to get from me or how they're going to experience me. I haven't built that before relationship where the people I know, maybe I'm just like a little nervous and they know it, but they know who I am, and it's fine for them. But for people who've never met me, they're like, what's this woman doing? you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really like over the past, I'd say even maybe like moon cycle, we just started the new moon cycle. I've had a couple of people like consistently come into my gatherings that I had not known prior. And then I had another one come Sunday who has already like paid for the next one. So I'm like, okay, all right,
Yeah, what
here
I've
we are.
learned. Yeah, what I've learned is so over here behind where I used to say, God, I hope people don't show up. I hope people don't show up. At the end of the day, I realized that we all have this same makeup. Like this is the human experience. We all have this over here, our beliefs, our thoughts. We all have this physical body. We all have a set of binoculars. And we are all projecting all of that onto the outside world, onto the outside movie screen. Like that is the makeup of every single one of us human beings. And what I've realized is if I hold the space with a feeling of higher consciousness and love, they may not see it on the movie screen. They may not even really feel it in their energy body right here, right away, but it always affects this. It is always affecting them on a deeper level to where they know that there's something there. And that's what I trust and that's what I believe in, is that we are all attracted to each other on an energetic level that we can't see. And so when new people show up, I assume that they were sent by creation, like that they were literally given a ticket or given something to show up on my doorstep. And then I kind of think of, and I don't like to get into like religion or anything like that, or even use the word God because it's misinterpreted by whatever meaning people give to that, right? But I feel like that's my boss, right? Like universal divine intelligence is my boss. So if they bring me people, then that tells me like, oh, there's a relationship here. And if they come to me and they're like, you know what, I don't like what you stand for, I don't like what you do, I'm like, oh, good, because I want them to find that person that they do. So maybe they see me and they need a different permission slip, right? I'm okay with that. I don't care what part of the journey I am in their reality. I might be a part of their journey that says, oh, I don't need to be here, I need to be here, you know. If you've ever lived in a place and you're like, this isn't the right place for me, I'm okay being that place because it's just another stepping stone for them to find their place, you know? So I think when it comes to people showing up, like I do get a little nervous. I get scared. That's part of the human experience. Like, luckily, I get to experience all of these human emotions that are like, and the thoughts too. It's like, oh, am I in the right space? What if this person's like mad? Like even TikTok, I'm like, when am I going to get that really negative comment? And I'm like, it hasn't come yet. Um, but I'm still wondering if it's going to, and how, you know, how I'm going to respond and if I'm going to at all. But at the end of the day, I just have this overwhelming amount of trust that the powers that be have a different plan that I could never figure out. So I open the space to say, okay, you know, my open sign's on. Now, what you come here and learn is not up to me. I could share the space, you know, like this space, because we all see different things. That's the really cool thing too. And that's why I like to have the conversation about something that I might say, because you'll all see something different or understand something different or learn something different in the same sentence, from the same sentence, right? And I don't have any control over that. I don't have any control over what you see. I just know that if I show you what it looks like to me over here, then you might see something new that makes it look different over here. And when we can change it over here, you change it over here, I don't, then the movie screen looks different. Your reality will look different outside of you. For all of us. That works for 100% of human beings. There's not one of us that has that is made a different way. And I think that's pretty cool.
I think I've definitely experienced a big new experience recently. And I mean, even with the like, just to piggyback on what Jay had said, I hold a remote viewing course every Friday, and it's just for fun. And a lot of times people won't show up, and I made a promise to myself, I'm going to show up no matter what, so I can get practice, because otherwise I won't do it. It's just, I don't know why. And I have been getting practice. And last week I invited Laura, and I was like, I was kind of hoping no one shows up this time, because but I wanted to invite you. I've been wanting to, but once I started, once it hit 7 p.m. my time, I was like, oh, maybe no one will show up. So that way I can really fine tune like how I'm going to make it different the next time. So, and that's exactly what happened. I've noticed that that's happened over and over again. And so I do believe that our memories, do form that movie that we replay in our minds or project out. And it's amazing because recently I just realized I realized how much I go into blame in my situation. Like I've done a lot of blaming in the past, blaming of my partner for, whether it's not saving me, not having money, not having a business, whatever. And just recently I did some work on that, and it was just a really new experience to see that I was having the same conversation that I normally do when I go into blaming. This is happening to me. I wish it wasn't. And there was no blaming. It was just amazing. It was just a basic conversation. And it was almost as if like something was missing. I'm like, wait, where's that heavy weight from blaming? I should be pissed off right now when I talk about this topic, and I'm not. And it was so amazing to feel so much lighter when I talk about that. When I talk about where I'm at with my business and what's going on with our lives, and we don't own a house yet, blah, blah, blah. It was just an amazing experience. And that was definitely a new experience to me. And yeah, it was seen through a different set of binoculars, and not only that, it just, man, like it felt like I was able to get to the top of the hill that I'm traveling on with my binoculars, wherever I'm looking, whatever. It was just so much lighter. It was an amazing experience to feel that.
So I'm curious, Velia, because our binoculars never change. We're always looking through our own set of binoculars. But you saw something different over here that changed the lens of the binoculars, let's say, that it changed what you're projecting into your outside reality. So do you know what you saw differently, that instead of burning through that same, because I've seen myself do that too. I'm like, oh, I get frustrated, and it's like I didn't see something, but it's what I didn't see that kept me on the same cycle. And then I saw something new and I changed it. But what did you see that put you into a different, that changed the way that you looked at that outwardly?
The way I looked at it outwardly in that moment was, I think I'm still trying to figure that out, but the one thing, because I don't know how that changed. Like I was doing my work, my energy work on it, not specifically that. And all I can think of is I must have touched on that while I was doing that. Because otherwise this just wouldn't have happened. This just wouldn't have disappeared, I don't believe. So the only thing I can think of is that I stopped, the change was, and I don't know if these are the right words. Maybe I stopped feeling sorrow for myself and just felt it as, this is where I'm at. It's temporary. And I think that was the change. It's just the outlook in the situation. I was accepting of where I was at, but just trying to communicate it. When the purpose of communicating those topics is, I have an agenda of, no, I'm communicating it to bitch about it. I think that was the difference, is my agenda, possibly.
That's interesting. And it sounds like you had, you probably realized that the sorrow for yourself wasn't serving you anymore. And instead of feeling sorrow and maybe whatever helps you, when we say bitch about it, we're just hurt and we're trying to get that energy out. So the sorrow to aggression, not aggression, but maybe just anger, you probably saw that cycle wasn't helping. It's just like feeding the beast, right? You're like, okay,
Right.
well, I'm not getting anywhere on this. And that's okay. Like sometimes it does help. But if it's something that you kept trying over and over again, you realized, oh, this isn't helping. So let me try something else. Let me try acceptance of the space and gratitude, which is amazing because we always are trying to get into a different space. But what we're deeply meant to learn, in my experience, is right here, right now, this
Mhm.
moment. There's something to show us every single time. And that's why, being present is so important. And it's because we're trying to go there, we're trying to go there, we're trying to go there, we're trying to go somewhere else. And the reason why we don't see ourselves moving very fast as we want to is because we're not looking in the right spot. We're not looking in the now. So you looked in the now, it looks like, and you said, I don't want to feel this.
Mhm.
So your thoughts changed. And that's how you changed what you saw on the movie screen, which is interesting because we have collective experiences too. So the collective experience with your spouse changed because you changed. So they're having a different experience too, which is really cool.
I agree. I agree with that. And yeah, and I'm sure it went further than that. The collective experience for my pets changed. I owe the collective experience for probably the next day when whoever I dealt with, probably as well.
And that's amazing because that's the domino effect, right? And that's how we affect people. Yeah. And I love too that you mentioned memories because our memories are just made up of a thought too. Our memories, I'm not saying they're not real, but there's a lot of people out there with memories that aren't real. They just remember something a certain way. Um, uh, Robert's dad had hired a U-Haul years ago to help his one of their daughters move, and he was pulling the U-Haul into the driveway, and um, so he parked it, and then one of his daughters pulled it closer and ended up hitting the house and like knocked the gutter off and like damaged the U-Haul. And so for years, they're all talking about how that was him. And he's like, no, that wasn't me. Like I got out of the vehicle, somebody else got in and caused that damage. And so they're like, no, we know it was you. And he's like, they're crazy. It wasn't me. I don't know who it was. He couldn't remember who it was. He just knew it wasn't him. So it's funny because two of the daughters remember that exactly, right? All these years later, the third daughter comes in and says, oh, no, that was me. I did that. So it's funny because they remember that way because that's what their thoughts are it's just that's what their thoughts are telling them. So it's interesting. I could even get really deep into, criminal and witness psychology as to what is actually real and not real when we even look at a lineup of people. So a lot of our memories are constructed a certain way and they're fueled by emotion because those are also thoughts are energy. So the way that we are remembering something is fueled by that energy of the thought. So if we have a lovely experience, we're having a lovely time, we're going to have lovely feelings, right? And so when we're pulling a memory forward, we're pulling that energy that came with it. So when I had people not show up, I was like, to my calls, I was like, oh, why am I even doing this? I would go right back into that failure. It wasn't really sorrow. It was more like, I'm wasting my time, I'm not good enough. Whatever those thoughts were just came back again, right? And eventually I said, you know what? That's not serving me either. I changed it. So when it comes to the memories, that's how we can create a different experience is to just not pull from those memories. Pull from the now and create a new experience with new thoughts and what we want it to be, and what we hope for, not what we worry about. That makes sense. You guys will notice in these calls that I like quiet space. So if there's ever a space of quiet, that is where a lot of your new thoughts will come from. That's where your new insights will come from, is from a space of um, silence. So if we reach a place where there's not anything going on and your thoughts are like, oh, I should talk or someone should talk or if you don't have anything to share, say you don't have to. Um, it's one of the ways that I work with universal mind is I allow the quiet space and then something will occur to me or something will occur to you. And so that's what we're really looking for is what's occurring to us. What is something that it's like, oh, I never saw that before. Right. Um, so I love the silence. I love the space. I'm not always wanting to pull from the intellect or the heart. I'm like, let's see if something new, let's see what new can come for anybody. So so never feel like something needs to be said because we're doing a lot of talking that we just can't hear right here. This is a really good example of trusting the space, trusting the experience, trusting what comes up. And when I have coaching calls with my coaches, sometimes we just sit here and it's so amazing because even if we don't know what to say, there's so much going on that we leave with. And we don't know how it happens, but it does every single time. And if we do have something to say, then we explore that. And that's one of the reasons why I love to call this the space, because we think space is empty, but it's not. There's just so many things going on in everything that we do and in every way that we show up. And I say this, if we don't think something is working, there are a million things working. We just don't know what they are. Not right away. So I realized when I feel like the results of my actions in anything aren't showing me the results that I expected, I'm constantly reminded that there's a million things going on that action actually pushed forward that I don't see. And that's proven itself true to me over and over and over again. So even though my expectation of the result or what I thought would occur wasn't like in line or wasn't exactly what I thought, it's like the energy's been sent out. That's the way I like to see things now. And everything that I do, the energy has been sent out. And then I just wait and it does what it does. And it boomerangs back at some point. And it's usually way better than that whole straight line linear thing I saw happening. It's actually always better. And it's something that I can't even figure out how it happened. Right. I'm like, I don't even know how that boomerang picked up all this other stuff and came back to me in this way, but it does every time. Um, and I have so much faith in that process now because I've seen it working. And I know a lot of us haven't had the experience yet in life, in business, and that kind of trust and that kind of um, the depth of knowing that that's how the universe works. So we tend to be human, you know, get upset. It's okay. I do it too. But there's just always such a bigger plan at work. And holding on to that faith. It really shows us how small we are in the universe, but also how powerful we are, right? We're all just a part of one puzzle. But when we join in spaces like this together, or, you know, what we do individually, we're a force of nature, even if we don't see the force right away.
Yeah, trusting this space is definitely what I'm going through. You know, I'm like a recovering alcoholic with pushing and achieving and accomplishing. And I like this. I like the spaciousness of this because it's very grounding. And for somebody like me, who's like bouncing off the walls all the time, trying to get things done, this is nice, you know, and it's what's needed. And I do genuinely believe that you can get so much more done while not doing, just because, you know, I don't know, like these creative ideas can come through, you know, or insights. And that's the space that I find myself in. I had like this super fun idea this morning for my tea business. So, like I want to start sending, for my virtual tea parties, I want to start sending people samples and stuff. So these ideas usually come to me like on a walk or, you know, I don't know, and spaciousness. I really like the spaciousness.
I wanted to say something in response to that. Same here. I definitely push and push. That's all I know. And it's still a training in progress right now, as far as I'm trying to ask my higher self what to do, just even when I'm not working. What am I supposed to do right now? And it's not easy committing to that. And I have noticed that since I've been practicing that, um, when I'm not doing anything, even like just walking down the stairs, just transitioning from one room to another, I get in more and more intuitive hits now. It's really, really amazing. And I mean, it's almost a little eerie, but yeah, they're coming in much more clear. It's not to the point to where I know what to do next just yet, but these are more like heads up. There's like the other day I was walking down the stairs and I got this feeling that like you're about to you could possibly get into an argument with your partner. And I was like, "Oh, let me be on my best behavior when I get down there and not, just, try to avoid that." And it was interesting. An argument started up, but it didn't turn into a big fight. It was very interesting. And just little things like that. Yeah, I mean, just crazy, crazy intuitive hits. Yeah, so it's just very interesting. And they all come from, they're just when I'm not, you know, obviously not trying to communicate with my higher self, they're starting to come, is what I would say.
Something I noticed about the way that we've been taught to achieve and do and push and make things happen is it reminds me of um, the vision that I see is us pushing a wheelbarrow full of our energy. Like we're pushing it uphill, right? It's heavy, it's hard, but we're so good at it. We've got really strong leg muscles. We could walk up small hills, big hills, medium hills. Heck, if you give us a flat space, we could run that thing. We will get there. We will put our flag on the I did this. We'll put a notch on our belt. But that's a 3D world. And we're transitioning. And I want to say, you know, 5D is the nature of energy that's really apparent to us. And what we are is a bridge to that. We're not we If we lived in total 5D, we would just be energy floating around. But we are bringing the two together, and that is the formulation of the new earth. And so now we could stay pushing and pulling the wheelbarrows. That's fine. We're still going to feel accomplished. We're going to get the notch on our belt. We're going to grab another wheelbarrow. Um, some people are very goal oriented, so much so that they stay stuck in that cycle because it feels so good. It feels so good. But what we're looking at now is the quiet, the space, the depth, because that's a linear travel. You know, with the wheelbarrow, we're on the shallow end, and that's why we're so good at it. That's what we've been taught our whole lives. That's what schools taught us. That's what college teaches us. That's what um, any any outdated. I don't want to say there's not benefit into education, but any outdated system has taught us that so well. We got so good at it. What they didn't teach us is how to dig for the diamonds, because the diamonds are below. We raise in vibration and we meet ourselves deeper. And that's what we're learning to do now. And so, with this quiet space and with the stillness and when sitting with ourselves, that's why it's so much faster, is because we're not really trying to travel to China with our wheelbarrow. We're trying to remember who we are. And that's why digging, even though I don't recommend digging because it's already there, like you're already standing on the gold mine, you're already standing on the diamond mine. It's just remembering how to pick up your foot and look below you. Like that's what we're doing. And there are so many distractions that have been put into place. You know, if we tend to do it ourselves sometimes. Like, oh, let me put this log right here so I could trip over it. And I know some people that I coach some people that they just like to put logs in front of their feet so they could fall or stop dead in their tracks and not progress because they're scared. That's what we do sometimes, and that's okay. But it's in this quiet, still space of like noticing, what did I see? What do I feel? What's occurring to me? What's new? What's right here? It's that space that is the fastest uh, journey to not only you, but to everything you're meant to do and be, your true authenticity, everything that you can create into the world and bring into the world. That's where it's all at. It's literally right underneath our feet. It's literally right here, but we've just been taught to look everywhere else. And that's why I kind of call this noticing, is because you might notice an intuitive hit. You might notice a feeling. You're like, I just have a bad feeling or a good feeling um, about a person, a place, a thing. It could be a huge aha moment. You know, it could be something that lights you up. the way that your guidance in that way gets to you is going to be your way that your guidance knows how to get to you. And it's a little different for all of us. If it has to use something external to get your attention, then it will. If it has to, it's usually like a whisper. It's like, right? And it gets louder usually with time, or it'll just continue to show you what's not working. Like, can't you still see that this isn't working? Look here, right? So then we learn to look somewhere else and make this space, but it's this space where everything's at. We've been misled. But that's because that's what we thought we were supposed to do.
So one lesson that I feel like I've been mastering in the last week or so is boundary setting and recognizing my yeses versus my nos. And then having the courage to pursue the yeses and to push away the nos. And I don't know, I just feel like there were like 2 or 3 circumstances happening at the same time. And I know, Laura, I had reached out to you about one of them because I was losing my mind. But I felt like there was a pattern that came up in multiple circumstances with me needing to really identify what was okay and what wasn't okay, what felt right and what didn't feel right. And it was amazing the way that it feels when you lean into your boundary and when you set that boundary. And it's scary, right? Because you feel like you're letting go of, like, whether it's an opportunity or like you're somehow having to make a choice, make a trade-off, right? That's what it feels like. But it's amazingly empowering when you choose what feels right. And so it's been a lesson, almost like in self-empowerment more than in anything else.
You guys see me doing this. I'm just turning off my camera that I keep turning on the motion sensor thing. So I'm not like, don't stop talking or anything. But it like just follows me around and it really annoys me because I don't like things moving. But I have a question for you. How did making that choice empower you? Like, what did it make you feel? How did it change you in yourself? When you said, I'm going to put this boundary here, what is the byproduct or the after effects of like doing that for you?
Trusting my own wisdom. And that it's okay. It's okay to let go of what doesn't feel right or aligned. And you kind of started talking in the very beginning about how if you continue to, and I forget the exact words you said, but it really resonated when you said, if you continue to relive the past and take the same actions as in the past, then you're really like not changing and you're not moving forward. Or you said something to that effect. And that really resonated with me because that's exactly where I'd been at. And I didn't want to make the same choices again. And there were like 2 or 3 things that happened simultaneously where it was like, are you going to choose this or choose this? Like, you can choose. And placing a boundary around what felt right was like, was a new me. It was me stepping into a new me. And it was letting go of the past. And that feels good. It's not easy, but it feels good.
What does it mean to you to trust your own wisdom?
Honestly, I think it means self-worth. Because it's like you're good enough and smart enough. You know? That's what I think it means. Because, you know, for so long, I'd always relied on everybody else's opinions to make choices, to make decisions. And I'd always look for, like, not validation of me, but validation that the thing I'm choosing is the right thing. And to confirm that for me, or not confirm it for me, right? But again, like, when you learn to trust yourself more, it's like your intuition, your guidance, it's trusting that it's moving you in the right direction, and you don't need everybody else to tell you that it's moving you in the right direction. Because it's like you said, Laura, in the beginning, it's already here. It's already within you. You just have to tap into it. And tapping into it feels scary because it's a new muscle. Well, at least for me, it's developing a whole new muscle.
When I found that place in me, I cried. I cried. Because you're right. It is that. I love that you attached, because we're all really worth everything, and we're all worth nothing at the same time. Like, there's nothing inherently different that makes any of us worth anything. We're all aspects of God experiencing and experiencing a perspective in a moment, right? So when we get to that worth thing, we've really just been told something, or not trusting ourselves, or maybe we've made wrong decisions that have resulted in showing us that we don't know how to make decisions. And I think a lot of that just keeps us scrambling to figure out what's the right thing to do.
Mm.
And I love that you found that space in yourself, and it is a muscle. You're absolutely right. It's like I know Velia, when she was like, this feels so good. It's like, I am me. I can trust myself. And that's one of the, if I could rebrand, I would probably do like, how would I even put that into words? Like, exercising your wisdom muscle. I don't even know, right? Fitness for soulpreneurs. I don't even know, right? But it's that you get so good at. You get so good at it. And you know what to do. You know. And it's because you do have a well of wisdom. It might feel like a drink here and there in the beginning, because you're accessing as much as you need, exactly. Because you are accessing you. But eventually you're living in that space constantly. And if you don't know what to do, it's because maybe two options are unanimously, maybe you could go each way, and it doesn't matter. But it's that space 100% that when we listen to that wisdom, that's the way to go. Whether it's a feeling, an insight, something that occurs to you, it's different. An idea is different than an insight, right? Ideas are a dime a dozen. You get all kinds of ideas. But then we get to decide which one is wisdom saying, go that way, or which one is our knowing saying to go that way. That's what I like to, and sometimes I don't know. And sometimes I let myself be stuck. Because that's another thing that we're kind of trained to do is, oh, if you're stuck, you better figure out how to get unstuck. I was telling Velia the other day, I get stuck sometimes and I'm like, woohoo, I get time off. I'm going to go watch 3 movies, binge eat some popsicles, and stare at my feet until it feels different. That's what I do because I know that it's not up to me. Wisdom will then say, go do this. And then I'm like, okay. Because I was getting really bored of whatever show Robert is wanting me to watch. It's something Robert likes to watch. Uh, but, listening to that and stuck is really sometimes I'm going faster than wisdom. And stuck is just hold up, let me catch up. There's divine timing here. There's a lot of things in play going on. So do something else while I make the moves behind the scenes. And that's what's happening. It's not all up to us. It is, but it's a part of us that we're learning to be.
I'm so sorry. I have a meeting starting in 2 minutes, so I'm gonna jump. But it's so lovely to see you, ladies.
Thank you, Vicki. We'll see you later.
You think, yes, have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.
You too. Well, it is about that time, but do either of you want to say any final thoughts?
I'll just say, while you were talking, I had this thought come up, piece of wisdom come up about a lot of stuckness comes from trying to pretend like we don't know what the next step is because it's scary or we just don't want to step into it. So we just, avoid it. And now I'm stuck, even though we really do know. And just finding that time that we need to take and step away while we, before we get ready to make that next step that we know is the next step.
Yeah. I love that you said that because you're right. We do sometimes stuckness can come from we're just scared of the unknown, which is I've learned when I'm scared, I'm like, I'd rather be scared and stuck because I know what to do. And I actually kind of like the feeling of scared because I burn right through it after I'm like, what am I scared to do? And that'll show me the way, like, oh, you're scared to do a 3-week. This is probably something I'll do soon, a 3-week course for solopreneurs live, an hour a day or something like that. I'm scared to do that. That's the way I need to go because it burns through so much of the energy that we're holding on to. So I love that you said that you know the next step, but you feel stuck. Um, and the only way through it is through it. And then we look back and we're like, man, what took me so long? So I love that feeling of stuck because I can at least feel around what feels scary to me. It's the feeling of stuck of just like there's a brick wall and it's actually not even stuck. It's just neutral. Let's just put the car in neutral, go do something else. And I always come back stronger. I always come back with new energy, new insights, new perspectives, you know. So I love that sometimes that Jay sounds like it's your compass. It is for mine too, right? But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking, like this new awareness just came up that sometimes stuckness is slowing down long enough to figure out where that scared feeling came from. So you can go back in your memory and clear it out so it doesn't keep getting you stuck in the future.
I love that. Slowing down is I think what it all comes down to because we can't see anything new, we can't feel anything new if we are driving, 100 miles an hour all the time down I-5 or whatever freeway. Slowing down really is, and I really like the analogy of just looking right here in the moment and looking under our feet because it really is the fastest way. We want things to happen, right? We want to get places. And we listen to all these people outside of us, and a lot of those people have already, some of them have never stepped away from their internal wisdom. So they're following their own path, their own journey the whole time. And we're trying to adopt what they're doing, even though it came from them. And that's why some of the things I teach, I can show you a framework and I could show you what needs to be done as far as principles in business. But once you're on the path, it's a you journey. It's a you realization as to your next step. It's because I can't know and you can't know why you came, what you came to do, right? I can sometimes get into intuitive hits and visions and stuff and understand for each of us what that means. But at the end of the day, you're the only one that knows that. Um, and it's just all unique for all of us, you know. But the things that are making people prosperous, where they're aligning with abundance, is because they've figured out how to listen to that. Some people get lucky, don't get me wrong. But when they get lucky like that, it's not sustainable. They just go and open a business and they do things because it's making them money. It'll work for a little while, but it's not sustainable. If you've found your wisdom and jumped into the space of quiet and can learn how to listen to that, and then you go and do something that will make you a bunch of money, like real estate, then it'll work. But what we're all looking for, first and foremost, is this quiet space of how to tune in to who we are. And then as we do that and we exercise that muscle, if we want to call it that, we're really just remembering. And then when we remember, we don't have to figure anything out. Now we're just knowing where to look. Now we just know where to look for everything because it's not outside of us. So I think we've got some good things that we can sit back and reflect on and um, ponder, write about, introspect. Um, until we meet again.
This was nice. Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate it.
Yes, you're welcome. And welcome,
As-
Jay. This is your first one. So welcome.
As well
you-
as Jay's input as well was super helpful. Thank you both.
I'm glad I made it.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise. And the cafe is on Thursday for the soulpreneurs. So Jay and Velia is also in that class. So it's much more, it's developing still. But it's much more business focused. We really are, we're using this wisdom and knowledge that we've kind of tapped into, and we're working to combine that with practical skills, for let's create a movement if that's what we want to do. If we want to do something simple, if your business is something simple, let's do that. But I want people to make progress. So we're looking really at like business progress in those calls, but it's combined with let's stay within our guidance. Right. So you're welcome to that too. I think I sent everybody the links already. So that's on Thursday, 3:30 p.m. Pacific.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Well, the recordings will go up today. So otherwise, I will see you on Thursday.
All right. Take care.
Okay.
See you
All right.
then.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.
You too.
Bye, Jay. Bye, Velia.